Hello and welcome to the Detective Case
and Detective Closed podcast.
We're your hosts. I'm Eric Shirley.
And I'm Brian Townsend.
Today we have a special guest. We're going to be talking about a pretty violent criminal sexual assault case that he worked on, and we're going to kind of look over the case and look at some of the details. Welcome to our guest, Jeremy Thayer. Great to have you here.
Good to be here.
And I can definitely say from working with you, I definitely one of the best detectives in this company.
I appreciate that. Thank you.
Both work on you with you, in SWAT team and through the Major Crimes Task Force. You've done some phenomenal work.
Thanks. Appreciate it. Fortunate to spend a lot of time in investigations over the years. So looking forward to talking about this particular case because it really, I felt like it touched me with the victim. And then just the heinous nature of the way the offender treated her. I think it's just worth telling the story. So.
Okay. Well, if you want maybe kind of start so people know your background and kind of what you're doing in law enforcement.
So I'm a lieutenant with the Townsend Police Department. I started in 1998, and I've been in investigations since basically late 2008. Detective sergeant, now lieutenant, and right now I supervise the DuPage County's Major Crimes Unit. Back when this case happened in 2015, I was just a member of the Fiat Major Crimes Unit. So in our county, we used to have two task forces, like a west side and east side, and so Fiat was the east side task force, and I was just an investigator on the team at the time when this case happened on August 29th, 2015.
So I know you guys know where Downers Grove is, and I do now because of Aaron. Downers Grove is a suburb of Chicago,
correct?
Right? So,
yeah.
And then DuPage County is what, right next to Cook County?
Yeah. So we're west suburban. So we're DuPage County touches Cook, which obviously is Chicago's in Cook County. And then we're like the southeast corner of DuPage.
I got you. Okay. And then within the county, you partner with other law enforcement agencies within that county to provide, to amplify law enforcement's reach and perspective and resources.
Yeah. So 35 agencies in the county, and so there's a multi-jurisdictional team that does everything from major crash to SWAT to forensics and investigations. We assist other agencies on major cases and assist agencies when their resources are overwhelmed.
Okay, great. So high profile care, murder, whatever, you can count on 35 agencies within this task force that might all have, independent resources or, abilities to come together and work towards one common goal, to investigate, identify, arrest, whatever.
Yeah, we'll run the gamut. You got the experts in crisis negotiation, tactical people. We have anywhere between 60 and 80 investigators, depending on how many people are on the team at any given time, and they're all very experienced and just want to help. So
awesome.
We definitely spoiled. You realize that as Brian and I travel all over the country and speak at conferences, we do training. Like how spoiled we are. The Chicago suburbs just have almost unlimited resources, right?
Yeah, truly. Technology too nowadays. In addition to all the manpower that's available, we're really fortunate.
So this particular crime happens in 2015?
Correct, yeah.
And where were you at the time, you said?
So I was a detective sergeant at the time in Downers Grove, and I was just a member of the Fiat's Major Crimes Unit, Major Case Unit at the time. On August 29th, 2015, this incident occurred in Willowbrook, which is one of the DuPage County agencies, one of the towns within DuPage County. Smaller community. I think they only had 2 detectives at the time. So they got this sex assault case where the woman was pretty brutally injured and raped, and the offender was kind of a whodunit. There was no good leads initially, but the case escalated pretty quickly after the initial call for the incident.
And when it escalates after the initial call, does it go to this task force?
Yeah. So 2 days later, on August 31st, as some leads started to be generated in the case, Willowbrook called us, and we responded out. And that evening, we caught the offender.
So, oh, wow.
Yeah.
Wow. Well, maybe walk through that case. Yeah, we'd love to.
Yeah. So on the morning of August 29th, Melissa Schuster, a young woman, early 20s, was coming home from the grocery store, and she just pulled in her house and unloaded her groceries, and that gentleman pulled up in a vehicle and wanted some money. He was lost, as it turns out. What we find out later, he was lost. He didn't have a cell phone. He was running out of gas, and he was looking to try to find his way to Chicago or back to Indiana, where we discovered he was from. But initially comes up to Miss Schuster and asks her for some money, asked her to use her phone. She was a little put off by him, his directness, and decided to go inside the house, and he left. She's inside the house, putting away her groceries. She hears a knock at the door. She comes to the door and she sees the gentleman's back. And now he's a little more angry, and he's asking or demanding her phone or demanding some money. She's talking to him through a window. She again rebuffs and says, why don't you just go down the street and use the payphone? He, on a whim, he just gets angry and kicks the front door in, immediately enters her house.
Just to put it in perspective, maybe like what's the neighborhood look like, right? Just average suburban area.
Yeah, it's
high time of day too.
Yeah, it's the morning. So it's the morning, and it's near a busy intersection near Route 83, Route 83 and I-55. So a major transportation area, but it's a neighborhood that's off the beaten path a little bit. I think the neighborhood's on like a U-shaped street where you just come in and go out. It's a small little neighborhood, definitely a quiet neighborhood.
Low crime area.
Definitely something that would be low crime in this particular neighborhood. There's nothing much going on there until this happens.
So he kicks her door in, fortunately, goes in.
Yeah, and then at this point, this is where really the tragedy occurs. Is that this brutal beating of Miss Schuster? He stabs her. He breaks her nose. He causes all sorts of other injuries to her body, and then he demands that she go upstairs, makes her get naked, and makes her get in the shower, and tells her to shower, and that's where he sexually assaults her.
She survives this.
Well, I'll tell you the way this story really, the reason why I want to talk about it is the strength of this victim. Really, is that he believes actually she's dead, what we learn out later, but she's sort of playing dead or just laying low as he's rummaging through the house looking for money. She gets up, bloody and naked, and runs out of the house, knowing that she's only got this one shot to try to get some help. Runs to a neighbor. They happen to be home. They asked, she says, call 911 for me. And he flees.
Wow.
As the police come, she does just a fantastic job remembering things about the offender and about his vehicle that really helped us turn the tide. Like, for instance, she remembered that it was an early 2000s blue Nissan Altima with a sunroof that happened to have one of those like spoilers, like little wind deflector, and Indiana bicentennial license plate. She remembered these things from the interaction. She also does a really good job with this sketch. She does a composite sketch of the offender. We have another agency come out to do a composite sketch. And she really, when we find the offender later, we do the side-by-side with the sketch, and she was right on. She did a really good job. You don't see that too often in the sketches, but she had just a phenomenal memory.
I think two amazing things already, right? Is a lot of times when you see victims in that fight or flight, a lot of times it's, playing dead, right? Or being scared to do anything. So for her to get up and take off running. And the same thing, the memory recall, even like for police officers who are in stressful situations, have that instant recall and like those fine details.
Yeah, very true. And the reason why I can even mention Melissa's name is because she was strong enough to even come out in the media after the arrest of the offender and say she doesn't want to hide. She was on camera, she said her name, and she wanted justice for what happened to her. And so I really applaud her for that.
Very brave. Yeah, absolutely.
For sure.
Yeah.
So as we continue on with it, this happens on the 29th. The information goes out, locally, the police, we share information, bulletins and whatnot. A really sharp officer working in Brookfield, which is another community nearby, not too far away, spots a Nissan Altima parked in a handicapped parking spot near a train station. Kind of puts two and two together, knows about this sex assault that occurred, sees a tenant parked in a handicapped spot, gets out of the car and takes a look, sees some bloody clothing inside, sees a knife sheath, and then he notices a pink and black bag with a little green makeup tote that's inside of it. One of the things that he stole, because she had left her car over in the driveway, he went and grabbed her purse, her pink and black purse with a little green makeup tote. So here that stuff is inside the car. Obviously now you have a license plate. The license plate comes back to a woman in Indiana. That now the leads start to turn, right? Now things start to go fast. That woman's contacted and she says, oh yeah, I lent my vehicle to my child's father, Wandale Madison. He was supposed to go up to the South Bend area to take care of some criminal charges. So that happened on the night of the 30th, late at night. And then the next morning we were activated by Willowbrook police. We came in, and that's when really this was a case. I remember just everything happened so quickly. We had investigators that were dispatched down in southern Indiana to talk to the girlfriend. So we had someone there, and we started to think, okay, we got to go to the scene. We got to do a canvas. Maybe we got to go to South Bend, Indiana, because that's where he's at. I went, what's going on over there? We're contacting the court system. And a real break in the case happens when our investigators are down talking to the mother of his children down in southern Indiana. He calls, Londell Madison calls, looking for some money. And we're able to put two and two together and determine that he used someone else's phone at a Gary, Indiana train station, to say, hey, comes up to a stranger, says, hey, can I use your phone? I don't have a phone. I'm going to make a call. He calls down to her. The girlfriend answers, or the woman answers, and then she relays that to investigators who are there with her. We were just really fortunate that we had all the right people in the right places. You know how that happens sometimes. From then, I'll remember this as just, it got to be, that any investigator always gets excited, right? When you're in that point when you think you're going to catch your bad guy. And we were really, we had a team out in Indiana. All we wanted to do was try to find this guy. We knew he was dangerous. We knew that he was capable of violence. So we started at the Gary train station. And the unique thing about the Gary train station was trains came in from the city of Chicago, and then there was two options really to leave that area. You could either take a bus, like a coach style bus down towards Lafayette and then Indianapolis, or you could take a train to South Bend. So we just figured, let's go for both. Sent teams out to, we were assisted by the Marshal Service at the time, assisted by Indiana State Police. And then really, I remember everything that was happening really fast after that. We had all the right assets in the right spot. The bus ended up being stopped by the Indiana State Police. They boarded it. Turns out he's not on the bus, right? So we're thinking, okay, chances are he's on this train, right? Let's give the information out to the train team. Sure enough, the team's in place in South Bend. He steps off the train and they grab him. Wow. Yeah. So just really, really fortunate. And then that's all occurring just in the same day, right? We're activated that morning and things are moving really fast. And I got put in as primary interviewer. So I got to go out to South Bend with one of the Willowbrook detectives. And we sat, and I think this is probably the longest interview I ever did on a suspect. He was willing to talk. And, when a suspect is willing to talk, you just want to try to get him to say as much as you can. And Mr. Madison did eventually, admit to what he did. And just what really bothered me, though, was his callousness of it and just kind of how flippant he was about it. Oh, yeah. I mean, he just really didn't even understand what, it was kind of like a thing that just happened. And to him, and just, he went through his whole day, how he was lost and how he was trying to figure out where he was going. And he sort of put the blame back on Melissa Schuster, saying, she could at least gave me 50 cents. She could have gave me some money. I just needed some gas. I just needed to use a phone. So he really just put it back on her, almost like he didn't even comprehend in his own mind how what he did was just terrible. And I mean, there was a couple of parts of the interview, where I asked him, like, hey, when you were in the shower and you made her go upstairs, and like, what were you thinking, right? And why did you decide to have sex with her right then? And she's bloody, she's stabbed, she's beaten, and he said he was attracted to that. And that, just as an investigator, in the moment, you're just trying to get him to keep talking. You want to hear what he has to say. You want to get as many of those incriminating details out. But afterwards, when you sit and reflect on what someone like that says to you and what they're thinking in their own mind, I got two daughters. They come home alone sometimes. And you just wonder, is there another Londell Madison walking around out there? And I hope not, because just terrible.
Before he's taken into custody, what does his criminal history look like? Right? Is he's like the first violent, just kind of like psychopathic thing that happens? Or?
No, I don't remember all the detailed history, but he definitely had a lot of run-ins with the law. Obviously, he was up in northern Indiana to deal with some criminal issues he had anyway. We come to find out later that there was another sexual assault case from southern Indiana that the police were looking for him on, and eventually did charge him with that case as well. So this wasn't his first run-in with the law. Certainly wasn't his first serious issue either. He had definitely had a lot of a lot of background, and there was definitely some sort of sociopathic issue going on. Obviously, he was not like the rest of us. You know, he was not like you and I. It definitely wasn't someone that we would want walking around every day.
You said that he was taking care of another court case. Was it you said South Bend or
South Bend? Yeah,
and he got lost all the way to Willowbrook?
I don't know what draw him out there. I remember him saying he didn't want to deal with the case. He had some explanation about it. He started off in South Bend and then he didn't want to go to jail. Like I think he was facing some jail time. So he was going to go out and see a relative or a friend, and he didn't have any idea where he was going. I mean, if you ever driven in the Chicago metro area, much like St. Louis or any other big area, the signs may say one thing like, Chicago on I-55, right? But it doesn't mean you're going to drive right to Chicago. So I think he got lost. When we did the canvas later, we had video of him at a gas station, kind of little panhandling, trying to get someone to give him some money to fill up his car because he was running low on gasoline. Eventually, what happened was he ended up abandoning that car. But we find out later through the interview and the facts that we ascertained through, the canvas and our follow-up investigation was he abandoned that car in Brookfield, and then he took a train downtown. He stayed in the homeless shelter, and then he decided he was going to try to make his way back to South Bend.
So completely random.
Completely
how
random.
you can't find a victim.
Yeah, which, from working in law enforcement, that when it is completely random, it's really hard for us to find the offender sometimes because there's no association between the victim and the bad guy, right? So I think, a part of me wants to believe we got lucky, but I also think, things just happened to fall into place because everybody did what they were supposed to do. The victim was great and remembering everything. The officer in Brookfield,
I love that.
being spot on, doing his job, noticing the handicap parking, taking that extra minute to take a look inside, thinking, hey, I think I remember something about a Nissan, and then seeing that bloody clothing. Of course, it's nice to get lucky that he leaves some of that stuff behind or that there was some, regularity to whatever he was going to do, like take the train back. But we had to have people in the right place at the right time, and unfortunately, it really worked out.
It's amazing the amount of agencies working together for common good, right? Common
Absolutely.
goal, and there's no ego, there's no arrogance. Like, no, we need to catch criminals, right?
Yeah, we see this all the time. I know every jurisdiction, but we see it in Chicago all the time. We, even in whether it's active pursuit or you call, you tap into a CPD district and you ask them to, provide you with a couple officers to help out. Everyone, I could say, over the years, did a lot of investigations, a lot of multi-agency investigations, a lot of investigations that took me outside of Downers Grove or DuPage County. And there's so many guys and girls that just want help, and they'll drop everything to do it. Like when this thing was moving really fast on that August 31st, and not a single person said, "I need to take a lunch break," or are we really, should we go after this bus? No, it was let's do it and let's get this guy.
Absolutely. The horrific nature is, that's great. Step up, right?
Yeah.
One thing you said when you're doing this interview and you're hearing this animal, right? This speak, you've got to be professional, right? You may want to strangle him, but you've got to do your job because ultimately you want the consequences, right?
For sure.
And you don't want to screw up the case, right? So, but as a human being, whether you're, parent, father, whatever, you're thinking, how is someone capable of doing something so evil to another person, right? And so you mentioned you had to reflect. And I think sometimes people, especially not law enforcement, might be watching. I mean, those are real feelings. Those are real emotions.
Oh, yeah. And you don't always dealing with them at the time because you are concentrating on trying to do your job.
Yeah.
But when you leave that interview like that, and any investigator that's done, a long interview, you're mentally exhausted because you're spending that time thinking about formulating. It's like playing chess in your mind almost. You're thinking about what the next question you should be asking, or if he responds with one thing, what am I going to ask them to follow up? Because I want this conversation to keep going. I want that information to keep coming. And not only that, but sometimes it just becomes like, how much is this guy going to say? Or how many terrible things is he really going to admit to doing? Like, it's just, at some point it amazes you too, that someone not only did this, but then is willing to just freely talk about it. And that's when like someone like that, it's not mental illness, but they're just not meant to be walking around like with the rest of us. They're just not meant for this world, which is luckily, Wandale Madison's spending like 70 years in the Department of Corrections, and that's probably where he belongs.
Absolutely.
And then will it be extradited to Indiana? Because you said also an Indiana case.
Yeah, I don't know how that's being handled, but I know that there is that Indiana case, and I think that they're actually moving it back and forth, and or they did at the time to take that trial into consideration. So I don't know if there's a separate prison sentence, but I have some confidence that Lawndale's probably going to die in prison in Illinois. So, which is probably best for the rest of us. You know, I hate to say that, but in this particular case, I mean, you know, seeing what happened to Melissa Schuster and just thinking about all of us that have family members out there, like, you hate to have this happen again, you know?
Yeah, terrible. It sounds like she's a real hero and just brave, like you said. Someone who was like, no, here's what happened to me. Here's my pain. Let's get this out there. You know, commend her as well.
And that's what part of this made this really memorable for me in my career. There's only been a few cases that I can think of where I called the victim or, you know, the victim's mother, and you're able to tell them that things went right. Like, a really bad situation where someone in your family or you are the victim of a really terrible crime. There's just no better fulfillment, I think, for an investigator to, you know, tell that victim. So, I mean, that night, even though it was really late, we drove all the way back from South Bend to Good Samaritan Hospital where she was. And we were there with her family and her, and we just wanted to tell her, myself and the prosecutor that were there, we wanted to tell her face to face that we got your guy, he admitted it, and we're charging him. And that just, to me, that was the perfect night, not because of what happened to her, obviously, but because of what we were able to do for her. You know,
and that goes to the many hats that you're wearing, right? I mean, you're wearing a hat as, you know, law enforcement official, you know, detective, and, you know, someone who legitimately cares and takes an interest in her well-being, you know, and I think that says a lot for you and really our profession, right? I mean, just
this isn't unique to me either. I mean, it's every cop out there that wants to do good, which is the majority of us, and they find no greater love or benefit than being able to communicate back to a victim that, you know, they got justice for them in one way or another.
Yeah.
So
very important. Wow, what a case.
Yeah, pretty wild.
This was 2015.
2015.
Wow.
You had mentioned off camera too that there was police sketch film.
There was, yeah.
I don't think it happens too often in cases. Really, some are too familiar with.
Yeah. It was really, like I said, really fantastic side by side. When we eventually did catch Lawndale Madison, there's this sketch I have with me. You want to see it?
Yeah. So we could.
Is that something
we'll link it.
We'll definitely link it in.
Yeah, for sure.
Watch it. You can see it.
To me, it's amazing seeing people do the sketches over the years that, for one, they're able to have that memory recall after being in that terrible situation, and then to be so accurate between them and then the drawer, obviously, to be able to reflect. I tell you, I'm not an artist by no means. I'm a stick figure guy, but to see someone be able to listen to that description and actually put it on paper, and then actually find the bad guy and see how much it relates and how similar it is, it's pretty amazing. Yeah. So we knew then with the car and then sketch, and when we first saw, we had the right guy.
Yeah.
So.
Yeah, and kudos again to that officer. You mentioned him as well. Apologize for the department. Brookfield. I mean, just like you said, to pay attention to what's going on out there. You know, to go into roll call before your shift, and you're like, what are all the things that are happening?
Yeah, to actually listen and, you know, hear what's going on. Absolutely. And then, you know, you're that. We all work the midnight shift if you're a cop, and you know, it's boring to drive around at night, but this guy was just paying attention, and something simple like a handicap park, and he's paying attention. He remembers that, hey, this might have something to do with something more important.
It's awesome.
And then to have that evidence left behind, that was a huge break.
Yeah. The frustration I have is as we speak to officers, how the country is, you know, we do like an introduction, right? And the introduction always goes this way. You know, here's my name, and I'm just a patrolman. Yeah, it's like that word, just like, no, you're not just a patrolman, right? Like, you're the cornerstone of our organizations, right?
You're the front line. I mean, you're the one that's going to be the first to respond. And when we talk about, like, even our detectives coming in to follow up on a case, we depend on that officer and that frontline supervisor to be the ones that really make it or break it for us, because they're the ones that develop the leads. They're the ones that hear from the first witnesses, identify that first piece of evidence. So yeah, for someone, you know, too, that may have spent their whole life doing some sort of specialty unit, for them to say, oh, that officer, they wanted to just be a patrolman. No, you're right. It's not just a patrolman. That's an important job. I mean, to drive around every day and actually pay attention to your community, to know the people that you come in contact with, to know who lives where or who frequents a certain area. That's super important. And that's something that, you know, we could talk about like AI all day, and that's why I'm so confident that AI is never going to take away this human part of what the police do, because we have that empathy and we have that action of we're involved and we're in the community.
In the context, right? I mean, like you said, you talk to that patrol officer or his her supervisor, you're getting, you can get a report, but now you're getting kind of really the meat of it, right?
Right,
Now,
right.
what they mean by this.
Yeah. How's it feel to them, and what's their reaction to it? What's their gut feeling? I mean, some of this stuff is visceral, right? And after years and years of experience or years and years of patrolling a certain area, they understand what's going on. They know, and they're the ones that communicate that to us. And that's a job of the highest honor for sure. So wow.
A lot of times people forget the human element of law enforcement. And I think about like, what it must have been like for you in the interview, and then like when you get that confession, right? Like sometimes you have like an extreme adrenaline dump, right? After you get that, right? Like I did it.
Oh yeah, there was definitely excitement when you walk out of the room and you're with your partner and you come out and there's people watching you. That we were at St. Joseph's Homicide, like their headquarters, so all their detectives are watching. Of course, the state's attorney's office is there. They're watching. They're reporting back to their superiors because they want to see what's going on. Whatever mistakes are made, during an interview, I know I'm sure I made mistakes during that interview. There's no doubt. If you go back and look at it, I could identify things. Should I have said something different? Could something different? Should I ask a better question? Which is what, we as, cops do. We should be constantly reevaluating ourselves. But yeah, you walk out of there and it was time to order pizza and, just to kind of quietly celebrate that, we've got the right person. We're going to bring justice to this woman and we're going to see this case through.
On the flip side, the pressure you feel first walking in there was, how do I get a relationship with this person? How do I get that confession?
Yeah, because no one wants to walk in and have the guy say, I want a lawyer. I mean, we all want that opportunity to give it a shot, right? To put our best effort in and to try to get that person to say something that's going to incriminate them, and do it the right way, though. Using Miranda, go through the right way. But when you do it and you get that good result out of it, I think the case at the end of the day that has a good result, you could look back and you can say, it's really glad I participated in this, because it meant something. So
yeah, absolutely. Yeah. Wow. What an incredible case.
Yeah, truly.
Wow. Well, we can go from there. I'm sure you've worked quite a few cases. I mean, sounds like, are you still on the task force?
Yeah. So now I supervise the DuPage major crimes team.
Awesome.
We since merged, and we're one team now. So we do, major crimes events, or we do public integrity. So officer involved shooting, officer involved death, stuff like that. It's been very rewarding over the years, and sometimes I wish I was just just the investigator guy. Talking about like just the patrolman. Sometimes it's nice to be just the investigator because you get an opportunity to do those interviews or to be on the ground level. I spend a lot of my time now like putting together the leads or reviewing the leads or assigning the leads and reviewing the case and being back in the office. So sometimes you miss that part of it, because that's the groundwork, the guys and girls that are on the ground doing the work. That's where it counts,
Well, it's important to somebody's got to manage all that too, right?
For sure. Sometimes though, the management part, it's not as fun. It's not as interesting.
Yeah, you're right.
Hey, so this is a case that went public, so we could probably link some more information if you want to know more about the case, or
for sure
we could link that afterwards.
Definitely some news coverage of it. Definitely, I encourage you to look at some of Melissa Schuster's statements in the media. Just like I said, really courageous, really strong, really advocate for women in her position, and it all ended up being a good story at the end. So,
wow, yeah. Thank you for your work and what you do, and it means a lot. Thank you for coming on. I appreciate you sharing that story.
Pleasure being here. Thank you.
All right, thanks for joining us, and we'll see you next time.